How do we see things around us? How do we hear different types of sounds? How do we tell apart a bad odor from a sweet fragrance? How do we know whether the food is tasty or tasteless, sweet or sour, cold or hot? How do we react accordingly to the touch of hot, cold, smooth or sharp objects? All these things are possible because our sensory organs are made up of peculiar substances as well as functions in a very specific manner so as to help us perform the activities of day-to-day life.
Sight, a precious gift we can't take for granted. Let's peer into the workings of the eye, a unique and self-sustaining system. The reflected light of the world enters through the crystal transparency of the cornea, aqueous humor, lens, and vitreous humor to project onto the photoreceptors of the retina, whose impulses converge on the optic nerve, and then to the brain, to be transfigured into imagery and imbued with meaning.
Humor. Now right down here in the corner of the anterior chamber, where the cornea meets the iris, which are those two black bits sticking into the anterior chamber, is the canal of Schlemm. And this allows fluid to move out of the anterior chamber and back into the venous supply. It gets blocked in glaucoma and causes the pressure in the anterior chamber to increase. Now looking at the back of the eye, we see the retina, which is the light sensing part of the eye, the fovea, which is the most accurate light sensing part of the retina, and the optic disc, which is where the optic nerve enters the eye. This is also known as the blind spot. Increased intracranial pressure actually pushes against this optic disc and causes a sign known as papilledema, which is where the optic disc pushes into the eyeball slightly. This can be seen with a fundoscope. Now let's have a look at the attachments to the eye. In a cross-section like this, we'd see the optic nerve, which is cranial nerve 2, attached to the back of the eye. Superiorly, we would see the muscle superior rectus, and inferiorly, we would see inferior rectus. And that's an overview of the anatomy of the eye.
Organ olfactorius, or the nose, is an organ of smell in the human body. Anatomically, a nose is a protruding vertebrate that houses the nostrils, which admit and expel air for respiration. Inside the nose is an area of specialized cells which are responsible for smelling, which are a part of the olfactory system. The nose also performs the function of conditioning the inhaled air, warming it and making it more humid. The nose consists of two parts: the external nose, which protrudes from the center of the face, and the nasal cavity, which is divided by a septum into right and left nasal chambers, which are the passageways for air. The nasal cavity has an important role in breathing. The roof of the nasal cavity is narrow and floor is concave from side to side respectively. The external nose is generally in the shape of a pyramid. It is composed of bones and cartilages and lined by mucous membrane. Its base is separated by two elliptical orifices, the nares, separated from each other by the columna or column. The upper part of the nose is supported by the nasal bones called the bridge. The olfactory mucosa and the sinuses are within and behind the nose. The mucous membranes lines the nasal cavities and is the thickest and most vascular over the nasal conchae. It is also thick over the septum, but it is very thin in the meatus on the floor of the nasal cavities and in the several sinuses. The accessory sinuses or air cells of the nose are the frontal, ethmoidal, sphenoidal and maxillary. They vary in size and form in different humans and are lined
know as taste.
Video, we will learn about a very vital organ of the human body, the ear. The sense organ of the human body that detects sound from the environment and sends it to the brain is called ear. It aids in the ability to localize sound sources. It plays a major role in the sense of balance and body position and does not act only as a receiver for sound. When a sound is made, the air around the sound vibrates and hearing starts when some of the sound waves go into the ear. There are 9 main parts of the ear, including pinna, ear canal, eardrum, hammer, anvil, stirrup, cochlea, eustachian tube and auditory nerve. The pinna or auricle is the visible portion of the ear that we can see. It helps localize sound sources and directs sound into it. It plays no role in the sense of balance in hearing the sound. The ear canal is the tube between the outside of the ear and the eardrum. The eardrum is in the middle of the ear. It vibrates when the sound waves hit it. The hammer gets the vibrations from the eardrum and then sends them to the anvil that passes them to the stirrup, which in turn sends the vibrations to the inner ear. The inner ear is made up of cochlea and liquid. The cochlea looks like a shell. The eustachian tube controls the amount of pressure in the ear. The auditory nerve carries the sound to the brain and the brain tells us what we heard. The ear works with the brain to control the balance of the body. All the movements are controlled by balance and muscles. The liquid in the inner ear is responsible for this balance. The liquid in the ear moves when we move and thus sends information to the brain to tell how we are moving. The earlobe is the soft lower part of the external ear. It lacks the firmness and elasticity of the rest of the pinna. It does contain cartilage and has a large blood supply and may help to warm the ears and hence maintain the balance. In this video, you have learned ear is the sense organ of the human body that detects sound from the environment and sends it to the brain. The sound vibrates and hearing starts when some of the sound waves go into the ear. There are 9 main parts of the ear, including pinna, ear canal, eardrum, hammer, anvil, stirrup, cochlea, eustachian tube and auditory nerve. The pinna is the visible portion of the ear that we can see. The eardrum is in the middle ear. The inner ear is made up of the cochlea and liquid. The eustachian tube controls the amount of pressure in the ear. The earlobe is the soft lower part of the external ear. Thank you.
A sensorineural hearing loss is the result of a problem in the inner ear. Sensorineural hearing loss occurs when hair cells in the cochlea are missing or damaged. These hair cells are responsible for producing precise electrical signals that the brain needs in order to interpret sound. When these hair cells are missing, the result is hearing impairment. When only some of the hair cells are missing, the hearing loss is classified as mild to moderate. In these cases, a middle ear implant capable of vibrating the moving structures of the inner ear or a conventional hearing aid may be a viable solution. Some individuals have a hearing loss only in the high frequencies, also referred to as partial deafness. In these cases, only the hair cells at the base of the cochlea are damaged. In the inner part of the cochlea, the apex, the hair cells which are responsible for processing the low tones are still intact. Combined electric and acoustic stimulation, or EAS, was developed specifically for these individuals to maximize the use of their natural residual hearing. When the hair cells of the cochlea are completely absent or damaged, the person suffers from a severe to profound hearing loss. For many individuals with this condition, a cochlear implant may be the best solution.